Hey everybody, it's Mark Ruggiero here, Clark Commando 1983, and it's about, I don't know what time it is, probably about 2 in the morning, something like that, Sunday, March 24th. Cancer just keeps messing with me, but this will be part 2 of my unconditional surrender, learn to play after action report. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe to my channel. And what I hope to cover here and be successful, it's been quite a while since I played this, but I've read through the rules. And we're going to play the first training scenario. And this will be in your playbook. 2 faction scenarios. Got the German setup, Polish setup. Basically lasts 1 turn, and not even that long, because if the Axis don't win by the end of their operational phase, the Western Allies win. Okay? So as you can see, for conditional events, only country collapse and conquered country may occur. Control markers, none at start. Let's see what else. And the Poles get 2 ground support markers. So a couple things that are interesting that I want to cover first is you'll notice, and boy, I didn't actually clip this one yet, but you'll see on the counters here. Let's see, there we go. No movement or combat factors. Well, these leg units, hopefully I'm using the right terminology, have 8 movement points. And everything else in the game has 10 movement points. And you'll see when we do combat that the combat results, both sides get to roll dice. So the red dice will be the Poles, hopefully I'll remember that, and the white die will be the Axis die roll. There's some on-map tracks that you can't see, and I apologize for the shadow I got here, but sadly my lighting in here isn't the best. But with that being said, so in the first scenario, what you're mainly concerned about is everybody's considered to be in supply, so don't worry about that. There's no production points. And I'm going to go a little bit out of order, but the game can be learned many different ways. You can read the rule book, set it up and play. There's a training rule book, which goes in order of the scenarios. I'm kind of doing a hybrid of that. And then there's a sequence of play rule book. So you have multiple ways you can read the rules and do this. Now you'll notice my counters that I use, except for these couple, because these are from an old set. See how it's got a little bit of a shine to it? I think, and I covered my other video, what I did do with my set a couple years ago, because yeah, it's been that long since I played it. I sprayed these with a matte finish. So, and I'll do that, but I'm prepping this for GMT West in April, and things look good for me to at least make it to that. So let's go on. So, all right. So what we're going to do, the heart of the game is the operations phase. And which is, let's see here, I'm going to show you here on the sequence of play. Where is it? Mobilization. Operation phase. Okay, so you always go in faction order, and one side always completes whatever it's doing. The weather phase, all the weather's clear, so we don't need to roll for weather. Normally you would roll for weather, and there's 3 zones. There's what I think it's called cold. Well, there's 3 zones. Sorry, I'm drawing out like blanks. Not important. It's clear. I'll cover that better in the next video. but it's clear everywhere. There's no declaration of war, no economy, no strategic warfare, no strategic movement. This scenario is concerned with just learning the action subphase. So what's interesting about this, we're going to start off, is in the action subphase, you pick units to activate, you complete the actions of those units before you move on to the next one, and that's whether it's a ground action, an air action, or a naval. Now obviously for this, the Poles have no air force. The Germans have 2 Luftwaffe units, and they can be flown for ground support. There's no assault combat in this scenario. That'll be covered in another scenario. Assuming, I think the next one's Norway. And then after that's France 40. And then, you know, we'll go from there. So, anyways, this is the first training scenario. And I'm not saying it's ideal strategy-wise or anything, but my goal here is to teach. So that's what we're going to do. All right. So the first thing I want to do is I need to pick an army to activate. And before I do that, I want to... Okay. So we're going to activate the 1st Panzer Army here, okay? And there's a little off-track movement factor thing, so I'm going to set that to 10, because remember, Lager 8, everybody else has 10 movement points. So the first thing we're going to do, and this may or may not be ideal, but I am going to try it. We're going to spend, this is an enemy city, so this will cost 2 movement points to enter. So we'll go there, we spend 2 movement points, we have 8 left, place a German control marker in the city. Oh, and there's national will, and the Poles have a national will of 12. And when they get down to 0, as long as I'm in the country, they're going to collapse as part of a conditional event. And that's what we're trying to get to. So let's see if that happens. So the penalty for capturing one of their cities, so their national will is going to drop from 12 to 10. So that will is tracked also on one of the player aid cards that's off map right now. You can't see it. So that's 2 movement points. All right. Now, what we want to do is we're going to attack that Polish army here. We're going to attack, what is this? The Pomeranian army, it looks like. Sorry. And that's called a mobile assault. Now let's see what that costs. Attack a unit in a hex affected by fair weather. So it's going to cost 1. The river hex side costs 1, so that's 2, because you got to pay the movement cost. And then you also pay the movement cost for the terrain, which is 1, I believe. So 1 to cross the river. 1 because it's clear, that's 2, and 3 more points because it costs 1 to attack. Now normally it'd be a production cost also, but that rule is skipped for this scenario. So now we're down to 5 movement points. So now we will move to combat. So we're going to have the player aid, by the way. Let me show you the player aid here. You got... And we are zoomed in a little bit. So, combat resolution sequence. I'm going to walk through that. There's combat results. And the same combat table is used for all combats in this game. Okay? So it just depends which kind of combat you're doing, the die roll modifiers. And so here's the CRT. Same CRT is used for all combats. One thing I like is defender gets to roll a die and the attacker, and the DRMs are tracked separately. So, and sorry about that, but hopefully you have the game. But this is a view of, just a quick view here, okay, of the DRM. So the sequence. So ground combat only. If it's a mobile attack, the attacking unit is the primary attacker, which is my Panzer Army. Oh yeah, also I'm not going to show it because it's solitaire, but each player would have a will commit or won't commit marker, and that allows you to commit things like air support, or in the case of this scenario, the Western Allies, the Poles have 2 ground support markers. Now, it's what I'm going to do, of course, playing solitaire, is to say, this is what we're doing. So, and I'll show those counters in a future video. But normally you're playing your opponent, you secretly decide before things. So each side uses a will commit, will not commit marker to secretly decide if he commits any of the following. So both sides simultaneously reveal any number of event markers as per the rules in 1 air unit. So the Germans in this case are going to commit an air unit to ground support. It has to be within 5 hexes. So we got this guy here. I'm going to go 1, 2. He's definitely in range. You don't actually move the markers. I mean, the air support, you don't need to, but you mark it with 1 sortie, and you can no longer use a unit once it reaches 6 sorties. But because of how quick this scenario is, it really doesn't matter. We're going to use them every time. And you can only commit 1 air unit. So if there was an enemy air unit that was committed, then you would fight an air-to-air combat and then proceed from there. So pretty neat, I think. I really like that. All right. I don't think the Poles, well, let's see, ground support. Just don't know if I should. I guess we might as well. We'll commit a ground support marker. And what the little die means is after it's committed, you'd roll the die, and that's how many turns later it would come back. But because of the length of this scenario, it's never going to come back. So we would put that in. Where do we put that? There's a place here somewhere. Oh, it'd be on the turn marker. So we're just going to put it to the side here. And then we're going to walk through. Each side now determines its own combat die roll modifier. It can be plus or minus 10. So we'll do the Germans first. The Germans always get a +2. So +2. Elite, no. If it had a star symbol, it would get another +1. I'm not going to go read through all these. Not reduced strength. No supply. Tank unit, defending in or attacking in hex affected by fair weather. So we get +2 for German, +2 for a tank unit, +4. Nobody's isolated. So isolated would be like if the defender had nowhere to retreat. Let's see here. Affected by poor weather. No. Cross straight. So you get a -1. So +4, -1. So we're at +3. By the way, there is a little track here. So we're at +3. And then air support. So that gives me another +2. So it'll be a +5 for the German roll. And let's see. Let's see if the poles get any modifier. Reduce strength, no, no. Tank unit, no, no. Air support, let me see here. I know they get a modifier for the ground support. Where's that at? Maybe that's not here. It might be under with the event markers. Damn it. Let's see here. Okay, it's on the player aid card. Shock unit, no. Tank unit, no. That's interesting. Okay, so let's just look here really quick. A faction may play one ground support. This is in the rules, 14.5. Tell me what the modifier is. Yes. In the combat, the owning player applies a +1 DRM. So the poles are going to get a +1. That's going to be their only modifier. All right. So here we go. So we're going to do the red die is the poles and the white die is the Germans. Okay. So the poles roll a 3 with the +1's a 4. And the Germans roll a 1 with a +5's a 6. And you cross index that. So we get a defender retreat with a +2. Let me try to show you that here without knocking my camera over. So what you do is you take the modified defender die roll and go to the modified German roll. So defender retreat. The +2, you just ignore it. That would be for air combat and some other things. You would add sorties, but you ignore that. So let's see, defender retreat. Okay, the defender must retreat. This is for ground combat. Now each of these results, I'm going to just show you really quick, have different, so ground combat results, air and naval combat results, right? So remember, use the same table for all combats in this game. So defender retreat. The defender must retreat 1 hex away from the attacker. If it cannot retreat, apply defender cannot retreat result below. If the defender occupies a fort, there are no forts in this scenario. Let's see. Okay, so can't retreat here because it's in a Zoc. Could retreat here. No reason to. We're going to just retreat to here. And we're going to advance into there. That's free. Okay. And no, it's not eliminated yet. All right. So we have 5 movement points left. So we will attack again, which is legal. So the cost, we're going to pay 1 because it's a clear hex and 1 to do an assault, which leaves us with 3 movement points. Let me double check the cost on that just to make sure. Attacking a unit and the hex detected by 4. Okay, yeah, +1. Okay. So this time there's no -1 for the river. So the Germans, and we'll commit another air sortie. So remember, it's +2 for German, +2 for armor, +2 for the air sortie. So this gets flipped to a 2, -2. And the poles are no longer plus anything. Now they could commit the their last ground support, but I'm going to save that for what probably will be a battle for Warsaw. So here we go. Oh, wow. wow, look at that. These die. Wow, okay. Well, the Germans are rolling pretty badly. Let's see what happens here. So defender rolled a 6 with no modifiers. And rolled a 2 with the Germans get a +2 this time. So that's 8 for no result. Wow. Okay, the German attack is not going well. Well, we have 3 movement points to go. And by the way, when you enter a Zoc, except if you start there, you have to either end your activation or attack. So I have 3 movement points left. I'm going to attack again. So that's 1 and 2 to enter. I'll fly another air sortie. So this will get marked with a -3. You know, that's half their sorties gone. And I do have 1 more air unit down there, so. Okay, let's see if we can get a better die roll for the Germans. Let's go, come on. A 4, okay, that's going to do something. All right. So this time the defender rolled a 2. And, of course, the German rolls a 4 plus 6 is 10. And that's a defender eliminated. All right. So this gets removed and placed, it would get placed in the eliminated unit box. The national will drops by 1, so that's going to go down to 9. You lose 1 when you lose a unit. So that goes down to 9. We'll advance after combat, and we have 1 movement point left. And I think... interesting. What do I want to do with that guy? Do I swing him over here to isolate this guy? Or do I push him towards Moscow? I think I'm going to... I don't know, like he says, first time I play this, I'm going to... Oh, I can't do that because it would be 1 for the river and 1 for the clear. There's no transportation line there. So really my only choice with 1 movement point left is to go to there. And we're going to turn it upside down. So we know that he's completed his... I could leave him... Oh, I could do that, huh? Yeah, could just leave him here. And then this guy will be isolated because he'll have all these Zocs around him. So I'm going to do that. Let's see if that, I think that might be smarter. Okay. So that was that. So now we activate the next unit. And we're going to activate the 8th Infantry Army here. So remember, they get 8 movement points. And that's a city. We're going to have 8 movement points, and I'm going to spend 2 to enter the city and 1 to do a mobile assault. I'm going to commit, let's see here, this air unit. And normally these sortie markers, you know, you could place them, I actually don't know, I would place them under the air unit. You could place them on top, you know. By the way, stacking in this game is basically 1 ground unit, 1 air unit, 1 naval unit. I'll reiterate it in the next video. I think you can also have a convoy and a hex. You can, stacking is in effect at all times. Now during movement, what that means is if you're moving, you can move through friendly units, but not if they're in a Zoc, because if you're in a Zoc, you'd have to stop to either attack or stop your action, and that would violate your stacking limits. All right, so we get a +2 for being German, +2 for being German, +2 for the air support. And just going through here again, it's not a tank unit, so it's +4. Attacking unit contains a city, so unit any hex attacking a unit that contains a city, so that's -1. So that'd be +3. Now this is also isolated because he has nowhere to retreat. There's Zocs and stuff in every hex, so that is. Did that. Attacking an isolated defender, unless it was in a fort or an island. Basically, they're isolated if they have no eligible retreat hex. And they're not adjacent to a friendly city or fort or ground unit. So being in the city doesn't impact it. They would have to have, like, at least a feeling that they could escape. And they don't. That's actually a note in the rule book. So that's another +2. So that gets me up to +5. And then the poles will have no modifiers. All right. So here we go. And we get a 3 for the defender with no modifiers. And a 4 with a +5 is 9. So that's a DD result. And a DD result on the ground combat. Defender's full strength, reduce it. And it must retreat 1 hex away from the attacker. All right. Well, this is going to actually eliminate this, because what happens is he's flipped. Do his reduced side. Then he has to retreat. Can't retreat because of all the Zocs. So you have to look up the no retreat. It basically says if it's reduced strength, it's eliminated. So that immediately reduces the national will of the poles from 9 to 8. And then when I advance in the Posen, the city, that's another 2. So we're down to 6 now. Okay. Now let's see, we have 6 movement points left. Boy, what do we want to do here? So I think we're going to go 1, and normally it would be an extra 1 for the river, but there's a transportation line there. So we're down to 5 movement points. And 6, or another movement point there, and we have to stop. Oh, well, we could, you know what, let's do this. It's a smarter move, probably. So we're going to go into here. That's 2 movement points, because it's an enemy city. That gets me down to 3. But what that also does, because remember, we're trying to get the national will of the Polish down to 0. That's another one of their cities falls. Knocks their national will down to 4. Huh? Pretty slick. I really like this. All right. So we have 3 movement points left. So, boy. I think that we do want to attack this guy. Let's see what kind of terrain's he in, if any. None. So it's clear. And we'll commit an air unit. So +2 for Germans, +2 for the air support. It's +4. All right. It's not isolated. And the Poles are going to, I'm going to commit that ground support. So that gives them a +1 to their die roll. All right. So let's see what happens here. +4 and +1. And, oh, the Poles get a 6 as a 7 to 8. And that's going to be a no result. Okay. Well, that didn't go very well. That's a no result. Diamond. All right, so let's see. 3 movement points left. I'll spend 2 again to attack with the Germans. I'll expend another air sortie, and the air has to be within 5 hexes, which I'm easily, this air unit here is easily within 5 hexes. And so it'll be +4 with no modifier for the Poles. Ooh, and this time the Poles, I think, are toast because they get a 1 with no modifier. And we cross-index that with a 5, with the +4 is a 9. And yes, defender eliminated. All right. So another Polish unit dies. That drives the national will of the Poles down to 3. Yeah, let's see. Do you want to stay here so this guy's isolated? Now we could advance. And somebody said, let me look this up really quick, because I did watch another video and it said, oh, you mandatory advance after combat. Let's see if it's on the player aid first. I don't believe that advance after combat's mandatory. Let's double check that, because this is a learn to play video. We're 30 minutes in, and if you're with me so far, you probably want to know, and I actually want to confirm because I'm learning the game too. So let's see here. Advancing after combat. If a defender unit is eliminated or retreats out of its hex, the attacking unit may choose to enter the defender's hex. If it was an assault only, which, no, doesn't matter here. If unit does advance after combat, the advancing unit ignores all enemy zones of control it enters in the defender's hex. After it is in that hex, it may continue moving. If the enemy Zoc, see enemy Zoc restrictions. If attacking enters blah, blah, blah. So you would place no enemy zone of control marker. If a unit does advance after combat, the advancing unit ignores all enemy zones of control as it enters the defender's hex. After it's in that hex, it may continue to move provided it performs a mobile attack and have movement points remaining. If it's in an enemy zone of control, see restrictions 4.2.31. But it really doesn't matter because there is no Zoc. But anyway, so yeah, advance after combat is voluntary. So, let's see, I got 1 movement point left. So, I guess it probably would be smart to go to here and spend the last movement point, because that puts Warsaw in a Zoc, and therefore no Polish units can retreat in the Warsaw. Aha! Isn't that pretty cool? All right. So, 1, 2. So actually, I think at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, at this point we can win. So we're going to activate the 2nd Panzer Army. And you can start in a Zoc, and you don't have to enter it up. But I'm going to move out. That's 1. You get 10 movement points. And I don't have to track it, but that does have the track, so in case I forget. So that's 1. Oh, I didn't place a control marker there, did I? Oh, I guess I need more. There's already control posts in. Okay, well, I'll clip some later. So we know I control posts in. So 1, 2, transportation line 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we occupy Warsaw. And we enter a Zox, so we either have to attack or end, but occupying the capital lowers the national will of the Polish to 0 from 3. And that I could end, I'm going to end the German turn there, and that's a victory, because once you drive the thing down to 0, start at 12. Now let's make sure we did it right. We have 2, 4, 6 for the 3 cities we captured, right? And then 2 more is 3 more for the units we eliminated. So that's 9, and then 4 for the capital, 13. And there you have it. There's the first scenario. So hopefully I went over enough of the rules and it was interesting and I had a great time. Thank you for joining me. And we'll see you all soon. My next learning video will be, got to read some more rules, but set it up. But I think it will be Norway. And let me zoom out here. And I still got my weights and stuff on my mounted map so that eventually I'm hoping that the bows and stuff go away. Oh. But anyways, thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful day. Bye.